All right, so we're getting more clarity on the entire WNBA CBA situation. And if we're being honest, this is going down to wire. There's no early agreement coming. No surprise breakthrough next week. This is getting settled at the absolute last second. That's how these negotiations work. And that's how this one is trending. But now we finally have something concrete, a deadline. The league has told the WBPA and the teams that a term sheet for a new CBA needs to be completed by March 10th in order for the 2026 season not to be impacted. So now we know 2 weeks. 2 weeks until we find out if we're talking delay, lockout, strike, or a deal. At least there's no more guessing about timelines. I originally thought March 1st was a drop-dead date. Turns out they've got until the 10th. Slightly more time, but not much. And here's where things get interesting. It was reported that 50 WNBA players met with league staff. 50. Now I'm hoping that means 50 players quietly on a Zoom call listening. Because if it's 50 players actively debating, that's chaos. Negotiations don't work like that. You can't have 50 voices steering the ship. That's how you get mixed messaging and public leaks. And that's been part of the problem here. These negotiations have drifted into the court of public opinion. Both sides have tried to use media pressure at different times. Players early on, owners more recently, and it hasn't helped. It just hardens positions. Here's the reality. The players need to put forward a proposal that the reasonable owners can convince the tougher owners and the shareholders to accept. And people forget this. It's not just owners. There are shareholders involved. Some minority stakeholders would honestly be fine walking away. That's the uncomfortable truth. Yes, some owners would probably have taken 30% revenue split, but others, not a chance. And this is why having a firm date matters. Because once March 10th hits, it's decision time. No more dragging it out. No more vague optimism. Deal or damage. And let me say this. This whole situation has been frustrating because I want to talk basketball. I want to cover games, storylines, rivalries, growth. There needs to be a season. Because here's something I don't think everyone is fully acknowledging. Momentum is fragile. Take the current landscape. Look at the attention dynamics around players like Angel Reese. She's one of the biggest storylines in women's basketball, whether people are rooting for her or rooting against her. You can't be indifferent to her. That's star power. But viral moments don't always equal revenue. The league can't afford a lost season banking on the idea that momentum will just magically return. It won't. And this is where the long-term strategy matters. If I'm advising the players, you aim for something realistic now. Maybe the equivalent of 20 to 22% of gross revenue, with guaranteed year-over-year salary cap increases. And most importantly, an early opt-out clause. Why? Because if growth continues, you renegotiate from strength later. But if you burn the league down now, you might set everything back 20 years. And here's another hard truth. There will never be another Caitlin Clark boom exactly like we just saw. That moment was a perfect storm. It coincided with the NBA being in a transitional era. LeBron James aging, Kevin Durant battling injuries and inconsistency, Stephen Curry not contending, smaller market teams like Denver Nuggets, Minnesota Timberwolves, and Dallas Mavericks headlining deep playoff runs. The timing amplified everything. That kind of alignment doesn't happen on command. The NBA right now is stabilizing again. Talent is deeper. Storylines are resetting. Attention is shifting. So the WNBA cannot assume it will just recreate that surge if a season disappears. That's why both sides need to make concessions. Players need a path to future upside. Owners need cost certainty. The league needs continuity. And we'll know in 2 weeks whether cooler heads prevailed or whether this turns into something much more damaging. March 10th. Circle it, because that's when we find out if there's a season or a standoff.